He says the BRICS have well, the second part is price. Let's just say that. The second part is price. He says, for the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. We produce these commodities, we consume them, but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. During the COVID panic, the price fell for oil to nearly zero. Actually, it was -40 a barrel. It's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control the prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. This game that we are playing to suppress the commodities, to make our system, our bond market and our currency system seem stronger than it is, not only is allowing these countries, as we are just said, to accumulate and pick dry the shelves of all of the commodities, from base metals to precious metals to soft commodities like corn and soybeans and all of this stuff and wheat that they're stockpiling. In fact, they just brought up the idea of a new BRICS grain exchange for the exact same reason that, you know, they produce more grain on a per capita than the rest of the world. And why are they beholden to the COMEX market that sets the price? What you are going to see, in my opinion, is the foolishness by the West, who continues to suppress the price of metals for their own greed and stupidity. Maybe they're being told to do it to support the bond market, to support the dollar, to support this stupid illusion that the dollar or the emperor is actually clothed when we know he's not.
In a thought-provoking discourse, Andy Shechtman delves into the intricacies of the current economic landscape, highlighting a critical lack of trust permeating the bond market. With foreign nations amassing almost $8 trillion in U.S. treasuries, apprehensions regarding America's fiscal solvency loom large. Shechtman points to a notable shift in investment strategies, with countries increasingly favoring tangible assets such as gold and commodities, a trend exacerbated by central bank interventions. As the market dynamics evolve, it's imperative to stay abreast of these developments.
And I think there is a strong probability that a lot of what's happening to the bond market, to the debt market, is a function of lack of trust. And I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that you need somebody to buy the bonds in order to continue to finance the debt. And this is all centered around interest rates, right? I mean, and the question really is, who can we count on right now to buy our debt? And the countries that predominantly have been buying our debt, I believe, have shifted into buying tangible assets, not just gold and silver, but copper, zinc, lead, you name it. Anything that you would need to build an infrastructure, I believe that's what they are doing. And when you look at the performance of gold over the last 25 years, it has outpaced that of the bond market tremendously. It's outpaced the S&P. We've talked about this before, but what it does, look, America's ability to pay its debt, I think, is becoming a concern for the nations around the globe. And, you know, right now, those foreign nations own almost $8 trillion worth of our treasuries. And I think they're getting nervous and maybe they don't trust us anymore. So when you say that this movement is different, well, it's different to me in two ways. The biggest is that, at least in terms of gold, it's blown through all resistance. There's nothing above it. It's never been this high. Where does it stop? And should it actually have been much higher to begin with? I don't know. And I do think it will drag silver with it. It will pull it with it. Typically, as people have talked about forever, gold goes first, silver goes further in terms of a percentage gain. But in my heart of hearts, I believe what we are seeing is a lack of trust that is manifesting itself in higher commodity prices, in particular gold right now, because I think these central banks around the world view gold as a safer bet, one that doesn't have sanction and confiscation risk, doesn't have default risk. It doesn't have any of these risks associated with the government, who has proven that they have no problem in cutting people off or cutting countries off from the system if they don't align ideologically with the way that we do. So I think that's why it feels different this time. This is central bank buying to me, and big central bank buying that, you can only manipulate a market by pushing it in the direction that it is going. And to try to hold this back, I think is as dumb as a mud wall. And you'll end up seeing companies that will try and could very well likely end up in the dust heap, history's dust heap of those that tried and failed. So not a smart time to be shorting this market in this environment, in this world, I guess is all I'm trying to say. I think this, what people need to take from what we're saying right here, you need to take a step back, right? Because we've pissed off the world in a huge way. We've pissed off a lot of these countries that are coalescing together. And the article was talking about a new international currency, right? And what he said were two things. But the second point I'm going to get to in a moment, I think really answers your question. The first is the idea of a currency, he said, and there'll be two baskets. One basket is of national currencies of all countries involved in the process, like the SDR, special drawing rights, but with more clear and understandable criteria. The second basket are commodities. If you have two baskets and we create the new currency as an index of commodities and national currencies, and we have a mechanism for reserves according to the mathematical model, that will be very stable and convenient. Okay, so they want a new system, right? Everyone's been talking about the new settlement currency that hopefully that they bring up to a vote or come back to the drawing. They went to the drawing board, they're going to come back and present at the October meeting. We've been consistent in talking about that. But the second part that he brought up in this interview, I have been saying it now for at least a year, and I think it's bound to happen. Look, the LME, the London Metals Exchange, was purchased by the Chinese, and that's primarily a platform of base metals, copper, zinc, lead, that kind of stuff. I think they do some precious metals, but mostly base metals. This is not just precious metals. They are siphoning and sucking everything that they can that isn't nailed down. They are substituting dollar holdings for assets, for commodities. And, just as a parable, you look at the wealthy people in this country, they own assets. And I think that's what the Chinese and the BRICS nations are doing. But the second part is the most important thing. And he says, the BRICS have well, the second part is price. Let's just say that. The second part is price. He says, for the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. We produce these commodities, we consume them, but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. During the COVID panic, the price fell for oil to nearly zero. Actually, it was negative 40 a barrel. It's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control the prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. This game that we are playing to suppress the commodities, to make our system, our bond market and our currency system seem stronger than it is, not only is allowing these countries, as we are just said, to accumulate and pick dry the shelves of all of the commodities, from base metals to precious metals to soft commodities like corn and soybeans and all of this stuff, and wheat, that they're stockpiling. In fact, they just brought up the idea of a new BRICS grain exchange for the exact same reason that, they produce more grain on a per capita than the rest of the world. And why are they beholden to the COMEX market that sets the price? What you are going to see, in my opinion, is the foolishness by the West, who continues to suppress the price of metals for their own greed and stupidity. Maybe they're being told to do it to support the bond market, to support the dollar, to support this stupid illusion that the dollar or the emperor is actually clothed when we know he's not. But I think what is going to happen is they will use that against us, as I've been very consistent in saying. They're using this suppression against us by bleeding dry the exchanges, but they are preparing. And this is the Russian finance minister totally knows it. They all know it. And that is that the Western price setting mechanism, the Western COMEX prices, are a bunch of crap. And they're going to use it against us until no one is foolish enough, i.e. the brain dead money managers, to do this, to take the other side. And when there is no one offering metal or commodities at the Western price any longer, you will see a shift, whether it be to Moscow, whether it be to the Shanghai Gold Exchange or to Dubai, and it's coming. So this back and forth folly of rinse, wash, and repeat, where the brain dead money managers continue to fall for the same sucker game, where the commercials suck them into speculation, then smack the price down as the price rises, will end poorly. Until it does, frustrating as hell. But when you got the Russian finance minister openly saying, we see what they're doing and we're going to change that, it's going to happen. And I don't know if it's this rally or the next, but each time that they continue to suppress the price in what is a immoral fashion and one that is messing with Mother Nature, it's only going to exacerbate the final outcome, Chris. And I mean that, brother. I truly do. Right now, we're playing right into their hand. Let's suppress the price, and so they can gobble up every ounce across the globe on any exchange that's dumb enough to sell it. And when that day ends, when no one's going to sell it for that make-believe price, just like that, you're going to see another system, another exchange, another country take over for what the COMEX was exposed to being, and that is fraudulent. And I think, yeah, maybe we will see another rinse, wash, and repeat where this rally, which seems so strong and substantive, is actually smoke and mirrors, one that was fostered by the commercial banks. I guess we'll have to see. But if I were a commercial bank or a board member, I'd say, what the hell are you guys doing? You are playing with really, really dangerous fire.
Today's discussion with Andy Shechtman delved deep into the current economic landscape, shedding light on the critical lack of trust in the bond market and the shifting investment strategies of foreign nations towards tangible assets like gold and commodities. As we navigate these turbulent times, it's essential to stay informed about market dynamics and emerging trends. If you found this discussion insightful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay tuned for more valuable insights.